Hey, welcome on in, guys. Tobin here with you, and thanks for checking out the channel. Hope you're doing well up there. If you guys could subscribe, that'd be great. And appreciate you stopping by. So, Norman Powell met with the media today, and I gotta say, as the official scorer of press conferences, that was 10-8 Norman Powell. He won that press conference. He knocked that out of the park. He was absolutely fantastic. And a guy who definitely confident coming into this thing. And I think it was interesting because I think brought a lot of honesty to the table about where he was at. I think the thing that was interesting, like right off the bat, was him saying that he was kind of miffed that he was traded, that he went to Europe with the impression that he was going to get into extension talks with the Clippers, that he had talked with Clippers general manager Lawrence Frank, and they were like communicating and they were interested and that they valued him and that they wanted him to come back, and that he was like, oh, okay. So they thought they were going to get into extension talks. He's in the last year of his contract. And then he was like, yeah, I was kind of shocked that they dealt me. He was not expecting it. So, but then he found out it was Miami. He said he was excited about that. If you don't know, Norman Powell, a big time Dwyane Wade fan, a big models his game after D Wade. Same measurables, 6'3", 4. I'll give D Wade 6'4", with a 6'11" wingspan. And, as obviously was not the route that Dwyane Wade took as a, number 5 overall pick. He really had to make his bones in this league, and he talked about the journey that he had and all the sacrifices that he had made. And the thing is, but he was really jacked up as far as like the idea that he thinks he's going to, and unsolicited, wasn't asked about Heat culture or anything. He's like, I think I fit the Heat culture really well because I work hard and I'm competitive. And I just think that he said, I make my weaknesses my strengths. I was like, that's kind of goosies. And then the other thing was like, he's like, those who say that my defense has fallen off, he's like, I'm going to show you that I'm still a dynamic defender. And I was like, whoa. He said, he says, I'm excited to get back to guarding and pressuring. And I was like, this is kind of, this guy, if he had to have a job interview for the Miami Heat, this would have definitely gotten him hired. He was, he just had all of it nailed. And even was the ways of people asked him about, Simone Fontecchio was asked yesterday about Bam and Tyler, and it was kind of your run of the mill answer. It wasn't anything. This guy's saying, he goes, I think he's already visualizing. He goes, I see how, Bam and I can work on the pick and roll and be a lob threat for him. And, we can make it so dynamic. Defenses aren't going to know where to go. I'm going to take pressure off of Tyler. I thought that he looked good and took steps as a playmaker. And I was like, this guy is incredible. He has given me the goose. I was already excited about the Norman Powell trade. Don't get me wrong. I was already excited about it. Who could not be thrilled with what he was bringing to the table? But I was like, this guy has gotten me really jacked up to see him play with the Miami Heat. And he seems like, he's got it right in mind. He had, great things to say about Davion Mitchell. And he's like, I think it's going to be really great because of the way that he guards and the way that he's aggressive. And he thinks that he thinks that they could push the pace more. And I'm just like, speak sweet nothings to me, Norman Powell. Storm and Norman, it is music to everyone's ears to hear these types of things, that the Miami Heat need to get a little bit more groovy on offense and have themselves in a better spot. The only thing that I'm pretty sure of, though, is, he hasn't, I guess, had a phone call with Spo yet. They've texted. He did have a conversation with Pat Riley, who had said to him that that they had a conversation. They'd always try to get him. Pat loves his floater. They've been wanting to get him for a while. And now he's on the team. But he's like, yeah, it felt good to know that they had wanted me for a little bit and that they have wanted me for a while. But this is definitely it is an interesting dynamic that he's bringing. And I don't think that this is like he's going to be an issue by any means. He doesn't seem like that type of dude by any measure. But this is also somebody who definitely let you know, like, yeah, I'm a little surprised that I got traded. And I think that, but he was also very clear of, hey, I think I showed you what I can do last year being a one. He was like, I'm a 1 or a 2 option. Like, that's what I am. He's like, I showed you what I am. I'm capable of being a number 1 or a number 2. And this guy's not backing off, and I don't think is coming here. And and I'm curious about this because again, I don't think this dude does not seem like a dude who's going to be a problem. He seems A+ in every way. And this is a guy if you guys play with Toronto, he had mentioned that his vets. He mentioned James Johnson, of course, played for Spo. Kyle Lowry, so I'm sure is going to get some Spo preparation there as far as like what to expect, how he goes about things. But I'm also, I think he's probably also like, look, maybe this is the place that I can finally land, and the Heat fall in love with him. And then look, if he does bring back the juice defensively that was there, because while the Clippers were a really good defensive team, people have said that Norman Powell's not the defender that he once was. If he does take that and he's bringing it on both ends like that, and he's like essentially, trying to show every element of it, on the contrary, like it's gonna be hard for the Heat not to fall in love with that. And such an interesting position because we are going into this year where so much is unknown about the Miami Heat, but also there are guys who are playing for big money, and this is a guy who is in a contract year. And while I get the impression that this guy feels like he's going to start. Now the deal is probably too good to pass up, but like the Heat like reach out and like tell him like, oh no, you're going to get that same opportunity you had in LA. Because I don't know if that's maybe LA thought to themselves that they weren't going to keep doing that they weren't going to put him in that position to start anymore, and especially with the extension talks. And also, they feel like, oh, we're going to get Bradley Beal on the cheapskates, even though this guy was better than Bradley Beal the last 2 years. And while Bradley Beal, absolutely has the better accolades that Norman Powell doesn't, he's not really played in anything meaningful recently. And the Clippers were a pretty damn good team last year in a very, very difficult Western Conference. So from my standpoint, I just thought that he was. I thought that he said a lot of things that were really goosies, and I think Heat fans will appreciate this guy. It seems like. I asked him, with my chance to talk to him, I wanted to ask a little bit about the D Wade stuff because. This is, I thought it was cool. Like D Wade seemed pretty fired up about the deal when it happened, and he actually revealed that not only do they have a social media exchange, but that they actually texted because they had seen each other a couple of weeks ago. I guess at Cannes, is that in France? I don't know. I'm not cool. And lo and behold, like they're this. I think D Wade knows, like, hey, this is one of my guys that like looks up while they competed against each other, and Norman Powell has faced D Wade in his career. He also is like he said they texted and that he was excited about it.
Just going back to you said about your D Wade, growing up and watching him a little bit, saw him on social media, was excited to see you joining the organization. Even as a guy who's competed against him, I guess what does that mean to a guy that you admired? Seems like he's pretty pumped to have you in an organization he obviously flourished in.
Yeah, it's amazing. Honestly, it's still crazy to me. I actually saw him when I was in Europe in Cannes for Sports Beach. So I got to talk to him a little bit. And having a guy that you've like modeled your game after, playing style, being able to attack, being a 6'3". I've talked about it on podcasts and interviews before. How I've taken the mentality of Kobe and just the approach of sacrifice and putting in hourless. Amount of time on your game and your craft, and then taking the skill set and D Wade and obviously putting my own twist to it. But taking moves and different things from him, implementing it into my game, and talking to him and seeing how he watches my game and knows my game, and he's proud of me and what I've been able to do and accomplish, and that he was a motivating factor in my basketball career. And then literally 2.5 weeks later, I get traded to the Heat, and seeing him comment under the post, and then I texted him about it, and he was excited about it. So I think it would be good, especially now playing for the same organization.
Hey, you already know, dude. That's Goosey's galore. And there's just something about Norman Powell that just is like something about him. There's something about him. It was just like, for me, I know that there's been a lot of aggression and disappointment that I've certainly voiced about state of the team, where they've been at. But there is, I like the idea of bringing somebody, while everybody was leaning youth. Maybe Yakachonis looks amazing in Vegas, but he definitely looks like he's going to take some nurturing. And the idea of being the overlooked team is not something the Heat aren't used to. This guy feeling like he's been overlooked his career. Now, look, he's a little bit older. It's a little older than Jimmy was, where Jimmy was like, Jimmy's going to Miami to retire. I'm not suggesting this guy's going to be Jimmy Butler. And while he sees himself as a 1 and 2, like, is Norman Powell a 1 and 2 on any team that's doing any significant winning? Probably not. But I like the attitude, and I like them bringing that, and I like the competitiveness, and I like the ruggedness, and I like that more of that. Davion Mitchell, Pella Larson, all that injection, piss and vinegar, I think is going to be good for the Miami Heat. And, maybe that does. This guy's, kind of been through every facet of his basketball career. And even in his best season, I think probably feels a little disrespected. I think he feels a little bit of a slap in the face, where it's like, wait a minute, you guys, you made it seem like I was going to get a deal, and you dumped me for 2 old dudes? Or I guess technically they dumped it for John Collins. It's like, you dumped me for John Collins? I was basically an all-star last year, and you traded me for a journeyman power forward? So I'm kind of excited to see what that means for this team. I can't put a number on it, but from an attitude standpoint, like Wiggins, when you bring in Wiggins, right? Like, they expected Andrew Wiggins to come in here. Obviously, he was coming in on very tough circumstances, and didn't think that he was going to get traded, and left a place that he really loved. And I think everybody was kind of looking at him and was like, hey, you're going to do stuff for us, right? And I think that was just a weird situation. And I think he's also just like, I don't know. I don't know if he runs as hot as Norman Powell seems to. Because I think that I don't know, just Andrew Wiggins just like, he's just cool. It just doesn't seem like, while he probably works his ass off and grinds and has all that stuff, it's not voiced the same because he's just a quiet, mild-mannered dude. So all that stuff's kind of internalized. But hearing somebody kind of vocalize it and feeling maybe like a bit of a slap in the face, I think that could be good for the Heat locker room. And if he takes that opportunity and sees how it flourishes, he's already thinking about how he works with all these parts on the Heat roster. This man had himself a hell of a day. Had a hell of a day introducing himself to the South Florida audience.